What's going on? I hope you're having a great week. Bitcoin has been up to its shenanigans once again. Bitcoin is jumping around, getting all over the place. So let's jump in here and see what's up with Bitcoin and what is happening. So I think if you've been watching other YouTubers and the technical analysis and commentary out there, there's a lot of speculation about what happened with Bitcoin and why it dropped like that. And I've seen a lot of the speculation about manipulation by the banks and International Monetary Fund and things like that about El Salvador. And that none of that is true. None of that is why Bitcoin dropped. The reason Bitcoin dropped right here, it is the moon phase. So we printed, or at least we had a new moon yesterday, September the 7th. It hasn't shown up on my chart yet on TradingView. I just use TradingView. I'm not a technical analyst or a chartist. I use the free version of TradingView just to kind of look at charts and patterns and look at the history. And I haven't been doing a lot with Bitcoin. I've been playing altcoins. I've showed you a couple of trades that I made in some of the altcoins. I'll show you another one today. I've been kind of riding the wave with those because they're just way outperforming Bitcoin. That's one of the reasons Bitcoin is so weak right now, is because the altcoins, Ethereum, they're all kind of outperforming Bitcoin these days. But anyways, you're going to see another new moon, a dump moon print right here in the next day or so on TradingView. And obviously, I'm just kidding. I'm not serious. The moons obviously aren't controlling the markets, but they are interesting how you get your full moons. And the way the chart shows it, it shows the full moons on the bottom and it shows the new moons on the top. So the white moons are your full moons. Those are your pump moons. And you could argue that we had this full moon to just kind of printed the pump all along the way here. We had a couple of new moons with a couple little corrections. The new moons haven't been as powerful as these were right here at the top. The new moons on the top corrections before the ultimate dump were a little bit more accurate than these two right here. So anyways, just something that's fun, interesting to look at. Nothing that I use or study or know anything about. It's just really interesting to kind of take a look at that and see how that plays out. But let's take a look at Bitcoin because, like I said, there's a lot of speculation on what happened, why it happened. At the end of the day, I think everybody knows by now that this was simply long liquidation. So this was just a stop hunt. When you get a candle like that, you're just liquidating long positions in the market. And that's just a liquidity grab by the market makers, generating profits. Now, it can also indicate a massive macro move in the market as well. And you can look back in the history of Bitcoin and you can see where we had similar looking patterns and candles and what were the results. And obviously, since we've come over the top and we're still below our last all-time high, until we breach that and we close above it, you're still in a downtrending market within an overall uptrend of Bitcoin's life cycle. We had this downtrend right here from the all-time high, and then now we're in a micro uptrend within this overall downtrend because we are still down as of right now, 45,000 from 65,000. So we're still down 20,000 from the all-time highs, which is almost 30%, right? So that's still a downward trend. And this is an uptrend within the overall downward correction of the market, sell-off, bear market, whatever you want to call it. After the bull market run, you had your blow off top right here. I know a lot of people say there was no blow off top. You kind of had two. You had a blow off top right there. It corrected, tried to rebound, a little bit of a trap, and then it blew off again. We're kind of seeing the same thing right here. We had this significant drop here. Here's your candle that's very similar to what we had here the other day. And you can see, or yesterday, that was a $10,000 drop. You can see this move right here was from 43,570 down to 30,000. That was a $13,000 drop. And a lot of people were longing this move right here. That was a big liquidity grab. And then you saw some sideways consolidation. We had a couple little spikes up, drop, and then sideways to downward consolidation to that bottom. And then we started our move up in this most recent trend, which looks on a macro scale a lot like the overall distribution from the accumulation that we had back in post March 2020, After the pandemic, with all the liquidity coming into the market, we had this huge accumulation phase into the markup phase. We distributed along the top where retail FOMO jumped in. Then we had the blow-offs. We sideways consolidated, dropped again, rebounded, and now we're back into that peak where there was a lot of euphoria, a lot of people calling for record highs, all-time highs, things like that. We've had another blow-off, sell-off top. And what's interesting is the way that this looks is you had this little correction here, top, 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 and then it ultimately dropped down. Same thing here. We're rising up. We have a correction. One, two, three, fourth top, we're dropping. So the big question is, we kind of know what this is now. We know why this happened. And of course, a lot of this was timed with El Salvador because that was a big event. A lot of people were buying into Bitcoin. So the market was driven up by the market maker and by the whales to have a money grab, a liquidity grab right here at this local high of 53,000. That was our last lower high. It's still a lower high because you're still below these two highs here. Until you cross 65,000, everything before that's going to be just another lower high that goes beyond this here. So right now to continue and to have continuation, you got to get back up and you got to close above 52,000. We had lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and then we were putting in higher lows. Now we have barely, and it's arguable if it's even a lower low at this point. It's actually lower than the last low, but not lower than this low. So really, in order to put in a lower low, you're kind of looking below these two right here. So that last low coming in around 43, 44,000. So if you put anything in this between 44 and 46, somewhere in that range, that would be a new lower low. So you would have technically a lower high, not a dramatic lower high coming across, depending on where this one closes. But you'll definitely put in a lower low. You've got your lower high right now, then you'll put in a lower low. Next thing would be another lower high and then lower low, and that would be your continuation down. So until we see where this closes, we're putting in lows, ultimately another lower low, then that should bounce, then you'll have a lower high, and then it continues down. And that's your signs of continuation. Like right here, we had our high, we dropped down, we put in a lower high, a lower low above these lows right here. And in the uptrend, these lows were higher lows each time until this one, first red flag. Then when you put in a lower high after a lower low, that is continuation and signaling that you're potentially heading into a longer term downtrend and frustrating continuation. So what do the markets do and what can you expect? You can expect the markets to do what is the most frustrating for the retail trader, and that's going to be sideways to downward continuation with some pops, gets everybody excited, drops. Everybody gets bearish, pumps, gets everybody excited, drops. Everybody gets bearish, pumps, everybody's excited. And everybody's getting kind of frustrated here because we're bouncing around, touching that 50,000 level, hitting those Fibonacci retracements, those huge levels of Fibonacci that are critical to get above, and ultimately the 702 and the 6.8 and the 702 Fibonacci retracement levels are huge to get above and beyond those, and ultimately working our way back to that all-time high. We touched 53,000, which was the magic number. A lot of analysts were calling for 53 to 55,000 to confirm and look for a reversal to confirm that this whole thing was one big bull trap. Now, was this one big bull trap? Was this accumulation here to mark up, ultimately coinciding with the El Salvador event where everybody knew a lot of retail would be jumping in, a lot of people thinking that that's it, that's the future of Bitcoin and we're going to be going to all-time highs? It could very well be, but a lot of it is timing, and a lot of retail was jumping in with the bulk buying and the network buying that everybody was doing to show solidarity with El Salvador on the Bitcoin buy. So a lot of that could be timed with that. So here's the real question. Where do we go from here? What can we look for? Are we going to continue down, or are we going to reverse and continue up? So again, you have to expect the market to do what is going to be the most frustrating to wash out everybody. And what's interesting is there's a lot of technical analysts out there that you can watch and you can look at. And the things what you need to remember about technical analysis is, number one, it's showing the psychology of the market. So psychology of the market is huge. And as I just showed, and as you've seen, and you can follow on Twitter and social media and YouTube, you can see how as we get a bounce, even if it's $3,000 to $5,000, even at $1,000, we're in that $50,000 level. If we were up around 50, bouncing around 50 to 51, everybody was super excited, super bullish, and we're going for all-time highs. And then if you drop down to 49, everybody's bearish and market's tanking and we're going to sell off. Now we've had a $10,000 move in literally an hour or two. And that has rattled the confidence of a lot of people in the market and in Bitcoin. Then some serious financial issues, but in terms of a limited supply, high demand asset, it should have a pretty stable, continuously upward approach versus shooting straight up and shooting straight down. As more and more people get in, more and more people own the asset and things like that. So what really needs to happen is the Bitcoin needs to change hands from the whales to the new investors so that the whole market can reset in order for stability to come in, because there's a lot of whales that want to exit. They're waiting for certain price points before they do that and get there. And some of them think it's 100,000, some of them think it's 500,000, some think it might be 1 million. So until we get to new higher levels, we're not going to know that. And right now it appears that we may be going back to these lower levels before we can ultimately get back to a higher level. So there is one thing you can look at to kind of help in terms of determining what's the future of the price action in Bitcoin and where we may be heading. And again, moving averages, all that's showing is price action that's already happened. It's an average. This is the 200 simple moving average, the 200-day simple moving average. And from an indicator standpoint, whenever you're below it, obviously you're more in a downtrend, and whenever you're above it, it usually confirms more of an uptrend. So you can go back on this is on the daily chart and look at the history of Bitcoin and kind of look at what's happened every time we've crossed. And if you go back to 2017, we had the blow off top with a bounce, another drop, bounce, drop, bounce, drop. We broke below the 200, came above it, tested it, bounced, tested, and then we were down for a while as we stayed below it. So you can go back in the history of Bitcoin and look at the times that we've crossed over and under this 200-day moving average, and you can see what it did to price action. Well, it didn't do it to price action, but you can see what the price action did once it broke below, came above, broke below, and now we're testing. We're testing that right now. If we break below this and test it, if we don't come above and stay above, and we stay below, then that can confirm a more longer-term downtrend. And again, it could just be that we're revisiting some of these lows in that 30,000 range to just kind of confirm that that's the floor. And once we get there, if that's the case, then we can be off to higher numbers from there. Or there is the potential it could go from here as well, and we could just have a complete rebound. And just like we had here, things could turn around on a dime. And I know a lot of people are saying it's not going to turn around and retrace right away. Well, nobody said it was going to drop in an hour either. If it can drop in an hour, as we've seen, what has been our biggest pumps here, let's kind of take a look at this on the hourly and look at some of these rips. They've been a little bit more contained to a couple $1,000s here since, excuse me, the most recent price action. Had a dry throat here, talking too much. So we're ripping, a couple $1,000s on some of these big candles to the upside. Here's one right here that ripped about $3,000, $2,000 to $3,000. So these candles can rip pretty quick to the upside. We've had 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours right here where it ripped about $10,000 or $5,000. So we've seen some of these rips to the upside of about 5,000 happen in a day. So if we can drop 10 to 15,000 a day, we can certainly rip up, $10,000 in a day. So this could certainly reverse and just go straight up. But that's not very likely, because right now what everybody's looking for is continuation to the downside to get down closer to that 30,000 range. And that's when you're going to see a lot of people jump in. So that's why I think the floor may very well now be put in at 30,000. A A lot of people have asked for Gareth Soloway. I will be doing a follow-up interview with him, but his analysis remains the same. Right now, he was expecting a bounce to the $55,000 to $57,000 level, the return to the scene of the crime, as he calls it, where the breakdown occurred. And then ultimates, that's where your bull trap would be, ultimate downtrend from there to new all-time lows, and then the market resets. We haven't quite got there yet. I'm going to be curious to know if he thinks that this is satisfactory. And of course, only time will tell in terms of knowing whether or not this was the top for the bull trap. One question a lot of people say, is this now a bear trap or is this continuation? Well, the way we're going to know is where this closes. If this closes down below this 200 simple moving average, then this is not a bear trap. That's continuation. If we close above it, this could very well be a bear trap, and then we reverse everything to the upside. You could see a rip straight up, just like we saw down. Now, on another note, some of the other things that I've been looking at, like I told you, Solana has been to the moon. I had no idea Solana would go as far as it went. I played this one. This was a nice little trade. I sold out around the 130 market, so I caught our $130 price point. So I caught this one a couple of weeks ago from 100 to 130 sold. Didn't think it would get to where it ended up. I've been watching that one, and it almost tapped $200. So Solana is going to be one to keep your eyes on. Algorand is ripping today. Nobody knew what was going on there. That came out of nowhere. Algorand ripped from $1.16 to $1.90. I haven't done anything with this yet. I'm kind of watching it. There's speculation that this could have continuation like Solana. Let's look at the daily. It's definitely breached its all-time high, but it retracted immediately. Solana definitely, set an all-time high and then some and kept right on going. Matic has kind of retraced to that 702 level. That's what's going on with a lot of these coins. A lot of these coins beyond a couple of them have retraced to the 702 and got rejected. That's kind of what happened. The entire market was getting back to that 618 to the 702 retracement levels, and those are the levels that you have to get through to confirm continuation to the upside. We got rejected there, retrace. So that's the concern right now, is that the way the market works, Bitcoin tops, then a few weeks later to a month later, Ethereum tops, then you get your large cap alts, you get your low cap alts. And then the market cycle just is downhill from there, bear market, and then it continues and resets and starts over again. Well, what have we seen here? We saw recently, this is the only thing that I'm concerned with right now, is Bitcoin topped, sold off, and we've seen altcoins just ripping lately, and those are topping out and getting rejected. So it could very well be that we're going to reject back down for a while, and we could have another 4, 6, 8 months, whatever, of downtrending market before we reverse and turn up. Or it could just, like I said, it could always just turn around, but that's the rotation in the market. Bitcoin tops, Ethereum, large cap, small cap. That's kind of the rotation. Obviously, there's been your outliers. Ethereum was an outlier here recently with the upgrades and things like that. Matic or Cardano was was an outlier with its upgrades. But again, buy the rumor, sell the news. Nothing has happened yet. We have September 12th coming. If nothing happens then, Cardano is going to tank big time. It's already started to really sell off. It touched $3. It's been on its retracement ever since then, back down to $2.39 today. I got a piece of Cardano right here at $1.40 up into this $2 range. And then I moved into Solana. I rode that one for a little bit. And what else did I play here recently? Poly. I rode this little ride here in Poly. I watched this little trend here, bought it, sold it. So I've been playing with these altcoins. There's been much bigger gains. These things have been 3, 4, 5x, where Bitcoin's just kind of been on its steady uphill trend. And if Bitcoin's going to make a move to a level to where it can 3, 4, 5x, that probably is more likely than continuation of all-time highs from here. What makes the most sense, and what probably would make the most sense, would be for Bitcoin to kind of continue sideways, frustrate a lot of people, because again, that's how markets work. They're going to frustrate, shake out, and wear out retail investors, work its way back down again. Then people will jump in. This thing could rip, and that's where you could get your all-time highs, and you get a 3, 4, 5x in Bitcoin. And then you'll get distribution and or continuation from there. So that's what I'm really looking for right now. And I think right now, unless something bad happens in the economy and in traditional markets, I really feel like that $28,000, $30,000 level is our macro bottom for now. Like I said, if we get another situation like March, or if we get a 2008 and 9, and by the way, the biggest stock market crashes in the history of the world have all occurred in October. So keep your eyes on this September, October timeframe. Keep your eyes on the altcoins. You can spot some of those. A lot of them are happening while I'm asleep, so I'm catching them the next morning. I'm kind of looking at the altcoins to see who looks like they're on a rip, and I'm jumping into them. Some of them when they've already ripped about 10%, but you can tell that they have another 20, 30% in them. I'm just not going to stay up all night and try to find those things. It's not that interesting to me. I'm having a little bit of fun, but I don't have to do anything. So it's been interesting with some of those trades, but that's my thoughts for today, and I'll keep an eye on things. I am going to have Gareth Soloway back again here real soon. As soon as we settle out a little bit, I want to see where this price action goes. I've been following him and his thoughts. His analysis hasn't changed at all. This move again was just a liquidity grab. The question is, are we now in a continuation down and have all of the whales that we're accumulating and distributing to this point, are they done for now? And we're resetting and starting over at that $30,000 level, or do they have enough firepower to continue on for here? So we're just gonna have to wait and see, monitor the charts, and I will see you in the next video.